Broadcasting from the basement of La Penta, this is WICR.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe back here, and look, in week one we saw a lot of things that we've seen. We've seen some things that we haven't seen, one of those being Peyton Manning. Obviously yesterday, it was the first time since 2003 that Peyton failed to throw a touchdown in the season opener. And is that a reflection of what we're going to see from the Broncos this season? I think it's too early to tell because, again, you've always got to go back to the old adage. You're never as good as you look in week one, and you're never as bad as you look in week one. But I think there are a lot of question marks with the Broncos, especially, I mean, look, the last time that we saw Peyton Manning on the field before this Sunday, it didn't look too good. I think a lot of us finally thought, oh God, Father Time has finally caught up to Peyton Manning. And look, I think when you look at his game yesterday, you could clearly still see that he has a command over the game and over the line. He can read a defense unlike anybody. I mean, his understanding of the game of football and what the other team is trying to show his team is unsurpassed. There's just nobody who understands the game more. But again, you do worry, and I think especially in that game, about the tightness of his throws, the arm strength, all of the physical tools that it takes to play and thrive. Because there is a lot of talent on that Broncos team, especially on the offensive side. But, I mean, look, not having any touchdowns thrown by your quarterback and the defense really surviving that one for you, settling for a lot of field goals, that's a tough task to ask for all year because what we saw from the Chargers and the 21, I mean, the Chargers are down 21-3 in that game against the Lions and come back and win it. The Chiefs looking impressive in their win against the Texans. Those are going to be two really hard games for the Broncos this year. I mean, and again, you're not going to overreact based on what you saw in week one, but there's a lot of questions there. There really are. I mean, I like Gary Kubiak. I think what he's done with his offense, especially what he did with Baltimore's offense last year, he definitely deserved another shot at a coaching gig, and he got this one. But, I mean, there are question marks here, and we've been so used to seeing, I mean, every year Payne's been with the Broncos, that first game has just been a coming-out party. I mean, we had the year when they played the Ravens, and he had threw the 7 touchdowns, and then you had, I mean, it seemed like every single time we saw Payne week one in a Broncos uniform, his offense was lightning quick down the field, putting up a bazillion points, and it just didn't look like that. And again, is it a combination of things? Is it the new system? I mean, clearly Gary Kubiak, it's a new face, new head coach. There's some changes there. And then Peyton, again, Father Time catching up to him. Is it the decline of him physically? I think there's a lot of questions there with the Broncos, but they get the win. And again, at the end of the day, you can't ask for much more than getting a win at home against a very good Ravens team who a lot of people think, including myself, are going to have a very good season. You really get bailed out of this one by your defense, but again, there is questions there that remain for the Broncos, and especially in that AFC West where we look at the Chiefs, we look at the Broncos, we look at the Chargers. I think the Chargers are a team that in week one, people started to worry. I mean, they're down 21-3. You go over to the Lions side for a minute. I mean, Amir Abdullah, you can't say enough about the kid. I mean, you look at him, how good he looked in the preseason. His first NFL carry is a touchdown. I really think you look at what the Lions did when they brought in Reggie Bush a couple seasons ago. That's kind of what they want out of Amir Abdullah. A guy who can pass protect, a guy who could be a receiving back, a guy who's got jets and can turn it up the field. He is a very versatile back, Amir Abdullah, and you could really see he's going to have a very important role in this Lions offense. But then you look at the Lions again, and having that 21-3 lead, losing that game the way that they did to the Chargers, it's a tough one to walk away from in week one, especially with how well you played. But I think there are changes there as well. You lose some big players there with the Lions. Tough one to lose week one against the Chargers. But then the Chargers offense is one of those things where Phillip Rivers has the 2 touchdowns, the 2 picks. I really like what we see from that Chargers offense this year. I mean, I think Stevie Johnson is going to have a gigantic year. Phillip Rivers this offseason talked so much about how good he felt having a guy like Stevie Johnson in that offense. Keenan Allen looked phenomenal in the first game, and having a running back. I think Mike McCoy's always been a coach who loves having a consistent running back who he can really work and depend upon. We saw his first season there, how effective he used Ryan Matthews. Ryan Matthews obviously has been a guy who's struggled staying healthy throughout his career, but we really see, even when Mike McCoy was with the Broncos, how heavily he utilizes the running back. Now you've got a Melvin Gordon guy there, which I think adds that dimension. If he's healthy, you've got a more consistent staple there at running back. And then you look at everything else, the way it's filled out. The only thing with the Chargers I think is a concern for them on offense is they've got a lot of small type receivers. I think they don't have as many big guys to go over the middle and just get balls. Obviously, Antonio Gates is suspended 4 games, which doesn't help as well. And then you shift over to the Chiefs for a minute. The Chiefs, again, they look good. And I think the Chiefs are always one of those teams that are always going to be good. I don't know if they're ever going to be elite, only because I think Alex Smith is a very good at managing the game, but I don't think he gives you that explosive edge. I mean, that's just the way he's been throughout his career. He's very methodical, work his way down the field, always has had a good running back. Frank Gore with the 49ers, Jamal Charles with the Chiefs. And again, I think it kind of was evident last year based on the fact that they had no touchdowns to wide receivers. You look at them now this year, they do have, I think there's more questions there in that regard, but I think the Chiefs are bound for a good year. The Chargers are there. It's really going to be a 3-way battle between the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs, as it has been, but I think there's a lot more certainty because, again, based on what we saw from the Broncos, I think the Chargers and the Chiefs clearly are going to have a little bit more room to win that division or at least make it to the playoffs, but it's going to be a fight there, as it always is. And we will continue along with the NFL. There are just so many games to get to. I've highlighted a lot of the biggest points I've wanted to get to so far, but don't move. We'll be back soon.